Hello. Welcome to the Source Cannabinoids, inspired by the condition known as tuberous sclerosis complex. My name is Jill Woodworth, and I'm your host. Thanks for tuning in. On today's podcast, this is a special rebroadcast based on a podcast that was released earlier this week on the Mic Drop regarding how to file an OCR complaint over lack of special education services. I felt the topic was so important and relevant currently, personally, and for so many in our circles and in this country that we needed another hit of this important episode. My guest is Mike Robinson. He is a special contributor to our podcast. We're working together in collaboration on several projects. He is a former civil rights registered lobbyist, continues to be a civil rights lobbyist. I don't think you ever lose that credential. He's been involved since 1996 on the ground floor advocating for people disadvantaged with disabilities and has a wealth of information that he's going to share related to this, as well walking you through how to file. I filed for my son, and one thing that I like about this method of addressing the utter frustrating situation that's happening is that it does not directly implicate your school system. I feel like our school system is doing the best they can in this trying time to use the resources that they have available to support, but it's just simply not anything that is even appropriate or adequate on any level, and trying to pretend that it is really pissing me off. So it's not anything close to what my typical child is getting and able to do independently. So therefore, she is perfectly happy working away on her online programming, and my son really cannot access anything without a lot of support and guidance one-on-one time. So I'm going to stop talking about that, and thanks for tuning in. Take it away, Mike. So, Mike, thanks for being on to talk about the state of affairs in our special education and what you can do, how you can take action. I have Mike Robinson here, who is a civil rights lobbyist.
I'm a former registered civil rights lobbyist in the state of California, 1997 registered initially. So your initial registration is done in your state. At that time, when I did my registration, they had to actually make a file folder in California to put my registration in, because there used to be this big, long list of file folders where different entities could come and search or shop for lobbyists to hire, right? Okay, so under civil rights, there was nothing in February of 1997, so I became the only one at that time with that designation and that type of lobbyist in the state of California, because generally a civil rights lobbyist is registered in D.C. Okay, So history goes way back. This was 1997, and it was over abuse in special education. And lo and behold, here we are, 23 years later, with an abuse in special education that's much different than what I used to work with, but indeed, it's still an abuse.
Yes.
Now, people are aware that schools are closed. We understand this. Anybody that was paying attention watched the great leader of our nation shake hands with the leader of K-12, an entity that does online education for people who do homeschool. People that like to homeschool their kids have an ability to go through an entity that charges by the month for you to go ahead and have your child be educated through a computer. So what our government did as they locked down the country was make a huge announcement. Hey, guess what? We've taken care of all kids and all education. Here I am shaking the hand of the leader of K-12. You can all go online for free because education has to be free, so you're not giving us anything. Thank you. Okay. Education must be free. It's called FAPE, a free and appropriate public education. It's not a gift. Okay. So anyway, these are civil liberties, civil rights. So as this announcement's made for kids in regular ed, we had a lot of movement through other states. While we did not ever gain any relief for any states who gained federal funding to educate our kids. For example, in the state of California, 70,000 Chromebooks were bought for regular ed students. Nothing was bought for kids in special ed.
Well, let me just stop you for just a quick second, because what happened in Massachusetts, all the kids in the high school, at least in our district, they all have Chromebooks. So I get an email from Jack's team leader, his IEP team leader, and he's like, well, does Jack have a Chromebook? I'm like, no, he doesn't have a Chromebook. And the guy's like, well, I thought that he had one. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So do you want one? So, I mean, this whole time I could have had a Chromebook for him, and, they didn't offer them to the special needs kids.
And see, the same thing here, Jill. Anne Marie got a call. Doesn't Genevieve have iPads? Well, yes, Genevieve does, because her daddy buys her iPads. There's nothing in the federal law that says because daddy buys iPads, we don't have to educate.
Right.
Okay, so what's going on here is kids that have special needs do have iPads, but that doesn't mean it becomes now their education tool. Okay, no, that does not mean that. So because of what's happened, I'm going to go ahead and share with you and anybody listening. Yesterday, an electronic complaint, the first one so far in the nation, was filed on behalf of my daughter Genevieve against Governor Gavin Newsom and the state of California Department of Education, against the U.S. Department of Education, and further. Because we have a situation where our Secretary, Betsy DeVos, has stated with no uncertain terms a week ago that Donald Trump's attempt to put the delay or the actual suspension of our children's civil liberties into the stimulus package. People aren't aware that our president needs to go back before the House again. I'm sorry, this is my opinion, and I'm going to voice it. He needs to go back before the House again to be tried for crimes against humanity. You can't stand before the nation and say all children are taken care of while 9 million are not. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. You can't say you all have free education when it's already a law to have free education. You're not giving us anything. People in November need to remember what I'm saying right now. The most vulnerable people in our country, children with disabilities, were shoved aside like they didn't matter, and something needs to be done. Personally, right now, I don't care about websites that show how many people are dying, how many people are sick, who's did this, who's did that, who's going to wear a face mask. I don't care. I'm getting emails and phone calls by the day from parents who have given their children up to the system. I am fully aware of a dozen people dying in a receiving home with nearly 100 positives. These were all people given up to the state. Okay, so when we have a situation going on right now where our kids need help to stay in the home, and I realize sometimes kids can't stay in the home, and sometimes it's best for them to leave the home. I realize that.
Right.
But right now, we've got a crisis where our government's not helping. And our Secretary of Education has said, look, states, guess what? You all received Title I funding. You all promised us through the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, you would spend this funding on services for these kids. And the states have taken those funds, commingled them into their regular fund, and spend it as they wish.
Oh my gosh. That's
what's happened.
Brutal. It's brutal. And, it looks like, we can say, okay, well, they didn't get their iPad or whatnot, but it's so much more too, because these kids get services. I mean, like a one-on-one aid. I mean, how does that translate from,
Well, when we look at all this, people can say, "Oh, well, they're just complaining about what's going on right now." But I'm going to run us through just a bit of history.
Sure.
Okay. Discrimination based on race, color, origin, it's prohibited by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We're not talking about new laws, folks. We're talking about a 54-year-old law. The first discrimination law that really made sense. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then once again, Title IX of the Education Amendment of 1972 added discrimination on the basis of sex. So you couldn't give a girl less of an education than you gave a boy. Mm-hmm. Okay? Then we got really, really intense after the Omnibus Act in 1971 that fueled and funded all of our different DHS, CPS, IDEA, all came from one act. Okay, when that happened, the discrimination against persons with disabilities became prohibited by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Okay, this Title II prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability by public entities, whether or not they receive federal financial assistance. So it doesn't matter if you got federal funds or not. If you have given out 70,000 iPads and Chromebooks to kids without disabilities and you didn't give out 70,000 kids with them, guess what, Gavin Newsom? A complaint has already been filed. Yep. The U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Civil Rights has it. I'm complaining against you, the Department of Education. I don't care what good you might be doing. I can't care. I'm a civil rights lobbyist. That means I am for the people. The government is not. Okay, so when we move forward, we have to look at the discrimination on basis of age. Now, that happened in the Age Discrimination Act of 1975. So I could keep on going down the line and listing more acts and more acts, but we have so many different civil liberties in place to stop the discrimination against people for their age, their disability, on and on and on. But the biggie is in Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. Okay, that started it all because it was based on pregnancy, parental status, sex stereotypes. So that goes all the way today to the different gender, different roles and what have you. So you still can't make the type of discrimination that was done all through the 70s after this was passed in the 80s. You can't do that now based on what happened in 72. And you can't do what you're doing right now, government, based on the 504-73 and Title II of 1990 in the ADA. You simply can't give regular ed kids what you don't give special ed kids. You can't go out and make a fancy new sidewalk for people without disabilities to walk on and leave a nice bumpy screwed up one.
This is basic. I mean, this is
basic. This is basic. And I'm done. I've sat and dealt with this for a long time. I mean, we've talked about the 1 million milligram giveaway of CBD. Yep. We're taking it up to 2 million. Okay, it's not up to the cannabis industry and hemp industry to make sure our government does their job. We vote these people into office. And people that are going to vote in November should remember the last person they voted to lead this country just stood in front of y'all and lied to you. He told you all that kids were taken care of. Anybody that's got a heart, anybody that cares should be pissed. Yeah.
And so what can a parent do? You filed, and I will post the websites.
What a parent can do is go to www.2.ed.gov. Okay? That's going to bring you to how to file a discrimination complaint with the Office of Civil Rights. You can do this right online. Okay? You're going to be able to scroll right through a page, read some things. Some of the stuff I just told you about, you'll be able to read. And you'll be able to click, boom, and you'll be able to find a discrimination complaint. You can have it sent to your email, you can email it to them, or you can just go click like I just did. I got a computer in front of me, and it brought me to the complaint form. Now I just fill in little blanks, and voila, when I'm done, a U.S. Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights complaint is made. Now let's talk just for one moment why that's made. That was made because the U.S. Department of Justice sued the U.S. Department of Education over breaches in the same laws years and years ago.
Okay.
And the settlement was the U.S. Department of Education will create the Office of Civil Rights. This way, the U.S. Department of Justice isn't inundated by continual complaints. Because there's a lot of complaints that come through when a kid doesn't get the speech therapy they're supposed to get. Now, when a child goes to school, okay, so let's say school's in session. The child goes to school, and they're supposed to get 3 hours of speech therapy a week. Now, if a parent comes and reports to me that they're not getting that they're only getting an hour, and they can prove to me with documentation that's all that's happening, yet the individual education plan, or IEP, says, 3 hours a week. Now, I go on to the same website, and I file the same civil rights complaint over that.
Okay.
So if I'm going to file a complaint because a child didn't get their speech therapy, I'm definitely going to file a complaint because they're getting absolutely no services at all.
Yeah, I'm going to go on and do it.
It's that simple. I mean, this is really not a complicated thing. I've watched the coalition, COPA, as many people know. Hey, great people. You're attorneys and advocates. I love you all. Okay, they're parent attorneys and advocates of kids with disabilities. That's what COPA is.
Okay, I did not know that.
They've literally been beating on the U.S. Department of Education, and they've got to do things properly. They've got to do them nicely. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a bit of a rogue. I'm very aggressive. Nice is definitely a way that you could describe me if you're on my right side. Now, when you do things like this, exactly. So when you do things like this to disabled kids, I can't be nice about it. I've been nice for a long time. I'm nice asking the hemp industry, can you please give? Can you please give? I'm nice asking the cannabis industry, hey, look at who Dennis Perone was, man. This is the guy that had the most influence on me out of everybody, and he taught me how to give. I'm so nice about that. But I'm not going to be nice about kids who are put in a position to where they go into a manic state, to where they get aggressive, to where they have self-injurious behavior. I mean, this is the responsibility of our government. Yes, it's the responsibility of parents to take care of their children, but when our children are disabled and we keep them in the home, okay, people think, oh, we're taking such great care of because we get $3,000 a month for in-home supportive services to care for our child. Well, guess what, America? That means we don't get to go to work. That means my office stays in my home so I can take care of my child.
Right.
And what that means ultimately is that I'm doing the job for $3,000 a month that would cost my state $100,000 a month.
Yes, that's a very good point. Because the cost to put a child into a group home or placement.
Exactly. It goes way up. So,
So
when we look at the math on this, Jill, I know I keep talking over you because I'm just so filled with passion on this one. But when we look at the math on this one, again, in November, when you go to vote, remember the man that lied to you and said all children are being educated, forgot about 9 million. If even 10% or 900,000 end up placed out of home, you're looking at nearly a $1 trillion bill a year to take care of them. Half of the stimulus package will go to take care of developmentally delayed people placed out of home.
So it doesn't
now, with
make
news
sense.
and knowledge that a dozen died recently, all of this is sickening. It's just sickening.
I think that if you're sitting home and you're with your child with special needs and you're having you're coming to realize that you need to do something, this is one thing you can do. And how do you see this playing out in terms of complaints being filed? What will be the response, or what should we anticipate?
Well, you really couldn't file this complaint until only a week ago.
Okay.
Because nobody knew that the man with a pen in D.C. was signing off on a bill that suspended our special education rights and no other. So think about that. When you get your stimulus check for $1,200, I almost want to give mine back. It came in a law in which our own president buried a covenant that allowed him in all states to go ahead and forget about disabled kids in education. Nothing else, only that. Okay? A waiver. But it had to go by the Secretary of Education, DeVos, who is a very astute woman who loves kids. And she said, guess what? You can make it through this. All kinds of other people are making it through this. And DeVos is very solid in her stance. You cannot do this to disabled kids while taking care of the able-bodied kids. Not under my watch. So her and Trump are at edge or at odds or whatever. I don't care. Once again, I do care about DeVos. I don't care about the leader of an unfree world right now because we're not free. Our kids are definitely not free. This is not a political conversation. I don't care who the man is. I don't care if his last name's Jones, Johnson, Trump, Jackson. I don't care what your name is. If you're the leader of this country, you've got responsibilities. You must uphold the Constitution. The constitutional rights of my child is to be educated right now, and you failed her. Therefore, you are not a viable president and should get the hell out of the Oval Office.
I don't even have really anything to say. It's just such a huge, smack in the face.
And people don't get it, Jill.
People don't understand.
They don't understand what we're going through.
Nobody understands unless you've lived in a situation where you have a kid that goes off to school or has these supports, and then suddenly they're gone, and just the ripple effect of it, not only on the individual child, but on the caregivers, on the entire stability of the family.
And it's breaking us down.
It's breaking us down.
You've heard my voice in this podcast, and it's been very aggressive. Now you can hear a different tone. It's breaking us down.
Yep.
It's breaking me down. I'm a very strong person. I beat 3 cancers, severe epilepsy. I've been in fiery racing wrecks. I've been paralyzed. I've been all kinds of things. I made it through it. But watching kids suffer like this is breaking me down.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like I don't even know what to do. So I just feel paralyzed. And I think that's
the only thing I can do is attack.
Yeah.
I was named after St. Michael. I'm not a Catholic and religious man. I'm a very spiritual person. I was born on 3366.
Yes.
Okay, and my Sicilian family at the time, Robinson is an adopted name. The Sicilian family at the time felt that, hey, we have to name him Michael, Prince Michael, after Daniel 12:1 in the Bible. At a time of great troubles, the prince shall stand. Michael, he shall stand and deliver the children. This is in the Bible, okay? Now, I'm not somebody who goes to my Bible every day and reads through it. I know a lot of people do. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying, hey, I was named after that. It was put in my face as a little kid. I'm staring at the Bible. It sits in my office all the time, although I don't crack it open. Sorry, Lord. You know what I mean? But the bottom line of it is somebody has to stand up. That book could be a bunch of fables, like some people say, right? Mm-hmm. It could be a book of fairy tales, like some people say about the Bible, okay? But either way, it gave me faith, and it gave me a reason to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And Michael is supposed to stand up and do something, so I'm going to. And right now, I'm telling everybody, look, you have the ability to protect your civil liberties. They have not been suspended. It's what the government wants you to think. They want you to think you don't have your rights. You have every right to exercise civil rights complaints today.
That's
Go
good
online.
To know. Yep.
How do I file an OCR complaint over special ed? Just put that in Google, and it's going to pop right to the top. Because the United States Department of Education is mandated through a settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice to take your complaint and act on it. And guess who gets your complaint?
Who?
A U.S. civil rights lobbyist.
Oh, all right.
Not the Department of Education. They only put the system together. A U.S. civil rights lobbyist in a certain division at the U.S. DOJ gets your complaint and works it.
Okay. And then they're the one to follow up and take action?
Well, they sort of have like a coexisting office with the DOE when it comes to this. So in D.C., there's the OCR office. And in the OCR office, you got DOE officials and you've got U.S. DOJ officials. So guess who's the boss there? One's the Department of Justice. One's the Department of Education. One educates people. One puts people in federal jail.
Interesting.
So parents need to realize you have the U.S. Department of Justice on your side. They are not on the side of the president. That's who prosecutes him. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
To realize this.
Good to know. Yeah.
So the people on your side in the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice do not care who leads the country. They don't care who's in Congress. These are people with specific jobs to uphold our civil liberties, and they're going to do it. I've watched them do it for decades, and they're going to do it again right now. We just need to nail them, not with one complaint on Genevieve like I did, but with 1 million complaints.
Right.
And that is my new challenge. Parents of disabled kids, please, sending me a message about what's going on isn't going to help you. Going to your computer and Googling, how do I file an OCR complaint over special education? Put that right in there.
You hear that, everybody?
Going to help you.
Okay.
There you go.
Awesome.
It's
Thank you.
Easy. I'm telling you, it's no different than filling out any other online form. I've had harder times on Amazon ordering goods than I have on the OCR site.
Yeah, I had no idea until you sent me this information, how to do it or even where to look. So I will also post this ASAP.
Well, thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you, Mike.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you about things like this. And I know I'm really emotionally charged right now, but it's very hard.
I get it.
With decades of history in this and thousands of past clients, and every day I have to work very hard to concentrate not to think about what's happening to them.
I know.
And I don't like that.
I'm right with you. There's a million things that I have to deliberately not think about.
And everybody else can go ahead and do what they want to do and not thinking about everything, but it can't be this way. I can't be somebody who represents kids, who represents compassion and things like that, and also turn my head. That's why I just decided, look, I'm digging deeper into this. I watched DeVos make her announcement last week, and I was ready. So you watched the 1 million milligram giveaway pop out in the same period of time. That's because I knew. We're going to have to calm down parents if they file complaints. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. That people are going to get nervous. I'm filing a federal complaint. Well, don't be nervous, because Mike Robinson's right here telling you I did it first. I can too. Okay? It's easy. And nobody can come after you.
That's what was my question. Are there any repercussions of doing that?
Oh, yes. This is specifically under the Title II. Although it's an OCR complaint, Title II prohibitions apply. Once you file that complaint, there's a prohibition against retaliation, coercion of any type at all, or harassment. Whoever you complained against can't even contact you over the complaint. They've got to go through the OCR, the U.S. DOJ.
That's good to know.
Now, guess what? If an entity violates those Title V prohibitions under the ADA that require somebody who has been complained about to stifle themselves and only answer to the government and not you, it's a criminal act. I have filed OCR complaints before and had retaliation occur.
Really?
Now, as a representative of kids in special education, when this happened, what I would do is drop every other case I had. If I had a due process over a special education dispute, I withdrew it with prejudice, meaning I can refile it. Okay? So if I had any other complaints outstanding, state complaints withdrawn, everything's withdrawn. Why? The U.S. Department of Justice, OCR, and U.S. DOE, OCR, will not work your case if you have other outstanding complaints.
Okay.
So it's very important. Don't file a state complaint with your Department of Ed. Don't file a due process. Just go through the OCR. Because, see, once somebody does a violation of one of the prohibited acts, now you've got a U.S. civil rights attorney who's watching this prohibition occur. Okay?
Yep.
So now an attorney for the U.S. DOJ is gaining documentation of somebody harassing you because you exercised your right to file. Criminal act. So now somebody who can refer this over to the criminal division is watching it all. You're protected when you go through the OCR. When you just sit and complain online, you're not protected at all.
Did not know that.
You know, people need to consider that. So people might see you complaining all day long, your school district, people that work for them. They might remember come September, November, hey, they were complaining last year during the coronavirus, right?
So this takes that out of the way.
Yeah, see, so if you file this complaint, you put those prohibitions in effect. Mm-hmm. And there can't ever be coercion or retaliation. If anybody ever says to you in 2021, hey, you filed that complaint last year, well, guess what? They just broke the law, and not a law that's over our civil liberties, but a law that's criminal.
Wow.
So for me, when I look at getting kids what they need, it is whatever it takes by any means necessary other than harming people, right?
Yeah. And it's so hard to maintain that type of intense, advocacy and just like passion for years. So
it's been 24 years. I started what's intense is 3 months ago, almost to the date. I filed for my first nonprofit, the Office of Advocacy for Autistic Children, OAAC, my first nonprofit. It started with online advocacy started on January 21st in 1996. All you had was dial-up Prodigy and AOL back then.
Oh, yeah.
So I had 39 7-minute advocacy going on.
That's how you did it.
That's how I started it.
Okay.
And I was in a wheelchair. I was paralyzed on the right side.
Oh, my God.
In my first case, my first hearing, I was paralyzed on the right side and in a wheelchair.
Oh, my goodness.
My first client was my son. Okay, so my biological son is in his late 20s, was with my ex-wife in the 90s. He's well taken care of. He does not, that's how all this started. So yeah, it's been decades. And through the years, I've watched the OCR step in. I've watched thousands of complaints go through, and not a lot happened that you could see. But behind the scenes, tons is happening.
Okay.
I have had them step right onto a school property and involve the Department of Justice and take over a case and flick me off it like I was a little flea. Like, guess what, Mr. Robinson, non-attorney rep, civil rights lobbyist, you don't matter, leave. We got this.
Wow.
And you know what? If I hear that from the OCR, I'm out of there, man. I'm happy. I'm shaking their hand. Thank you so much.
Right.
So we have these abilities, and we need to exercise them. It's much like the ability to go to a different store to buy toilet paper right now. Okay? I mean, if you have the ability to do it yourself, to make your own face mask, to do this and to do that, you definitely can go online and file a complaint for your child. If you do not, please don't complain to me because, I'm doing all I can, and I'm trying the best I can to get information out there, to get cannabinoids out there for people in need. People that are complaining that aren't doing what they can do, they sort of irritate me a little bit, and I just have to be honest about that.
And then you don't have time to time to...
Well, I understand. I mean, people need to vent, and not everybody's going to go file a complaint. You and I both know that 2% of people that can file a complaint will right now on the high end of numbers. People are afraid of a government that isn't doing anything for them.
Tell me.
It blows my mind.
I know.
How come 350 million of us are afraid of 3,000 people in one small spot in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know.
We are
I know.
powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are the masses. We have the ability to exercise our rights. Right now, when we exercise our rights, we file the complaint. So anyway, with all that said, I got to get running, Jill, but thank you so much for your time. I sure hope that parents out there will take a few minutes and listen to this and find a way to go ahead and move forward. If you can share the website so people can use those, please do. I'm likely going to put Genevieve's entire complaint in print.
Are you? I wondered if you're going to. Let me know when you do. I'll share it.
The bottom line of it is I want people to see an example of what I requested for remediation of all this. Because when you file the complaint, it asks you what you want. Okay? So you need to answer the OCR with what you want. If you just say, well, I want speech therapy for my child, well, you just ripped your child off.
You've got to go in and be specific.
Be specific in the fact that you want one-on-one instructional education. You can write your own IEP.
Yes.
You write down what you want as services like you are the entire IEP team. That's what you write down, what you want done. What I wrote down for Genevieve, just to give you a little teaser before I go here, one-on-one private education by a non-public agency of my choice, retroactive to March 15th. You owe me 45 days plus every day forward. That's number one. One-on-one speech therapy with a non-public agency of my choice. One-on-one physical therapy with non-public agency of my choice. One-on-one behavioral intervention therapy with non-public agency of my choice. Okay, so this is what you ask for. You ask for every single service on your IEP to be done through a non-public agency of your choice.
Okay.
So why do I do that? Because the district's going to come back and say, we don't want to pay $100,000. And then you go, okay, that's fine. And you've got a bunch of people, speech therapists, behaviorists, you've got teachers who are out of jobs right now. They have no income. They're getting unemployment. They're pulling off their vacation. So put them to work. Yeah. Because that's what DeVos just said. A week ago, DeVos told Trump and the Department of Ed and every state governor, you can get through this. You have the funds we gave you.
They just don't want to do it.
So when you ask for non-public education, guess what? That's what you're allowed. If we take this from an OCR and say, you know what, U.S. Department of Ed, I was real nice and gave you an OCR complaint. School's back in. I'm filing a due process. I automatically win by default private education for Genevieve until she reaches 21 because it was an illegal change of placement done outside of the IEP team. Done. I mean, this is just straight up case law, simpleton stuff. Okay, when you do an illegal change of placement, you take a child out of their special ed setting and you do not provide them with their IEP services and you do not get a waiver from the U.S. Department of Education. As a state, you are now liable to educate that disabled child in a non-public setting of the parent's choice.
That
really means
important.
If I take a school that's $500,000 a year, you must pay for it. So once again, in November, when people go to the polls to vote, remember who stuck you with 9 million different cases worth $500,000 each. Do the math. That's $45 billion a year. $45 billion a year to fix a lie said in 15 seconds. How many other lies have been said in 15 seconds? A lot. So the bottom line of it is, we're in a position right now, again, I don't care if the last name of the man up there is blue, orange. I don't care what color his hair is, face is. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is our kids.
Yep.
I care about the future of our nation. And the future of our nation does not hinge on any one group of people. It hinges on groups of millions, and they need help.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Oh, my God, that's awesome.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you for tuning in. Wasn't that powerful? Thank you so much, Mike. Just want to do a few short announcements here at the end of the podcast. First of all, if you're in need of CBD, we have 1,000,000 milligram giveaway. You can contact Mike Robinson at 50kreasons@gmail.com if you are in need of CBD and looking for some compassion care. Please reach out. As well, stay tuned for more information on Mike Drops, our new product that we have worked on with Mike. He is the formulator, and we are bringing it to market very soon. It is an amazing botanical cannabinoid, I don't want to say concoction, but drops you put in the bath, and it makes you feel amazing. I just tried some last night, and I can truly say, speaking from personal experience, I had my expectations, moderate, but I was like, whoa, just felt tingly all over and just relaxed, renewed, clean. So yeah, stay tuned for more information on Mike Drops. They're going to be coming to pre-sale soon. So check out our website, tsctalks.com. Look at the top part of the page. That's where we're going to be putting the information until we have them ready to go. Thanks again for tuning in, and thanks, Mike.